Alright. So now on the mouth here, we follow the line down. Mouth has a little bit of a kick right here. Just shadowing the bottom edge of the lip here. Now the cheek has a little bit of the chin has a little bulb out here. So we have to allow for that with our shadowing. Now we're still staying really light in color, so we don't have to worry too much about if we make a mistake. Kind of an easy stage to go in and fix it. Now shadow, his lip just kind of comes in here and softens up. Down in this little part, it's a little bit darker because the cheek is actually shadowing it. Now there's a little bit of a white highlight around his upper lip here. So we need to make sure that we maintain that. So what I'm going to do is just draw the top of his lip here. Now I'm going to go in and start adding the texture of his lip, the directional texture. Now depending on how crazy you want to get with it, is going to depend on how much texture you put in his lip. Now you can do it all with an airbrush without an eraser, just by preserving whites. I'm not going to go nuts on texture on this one. We'll do certain studies in classes on just lips, they're just eyes, and we'll be able to spend more time in detail in that area. Okay, now you can see I just pushed that back a little bit so it looks like it's the back part of it. Now this part of his lip over here is almost 100% this color gray. So I can go in there and shadow that in. Okay, so now what we want to do is make sure we don't give him a mustache by trying to make this white line here. But we need to shadow it to give it that arced edge. So we just lightly come in here with the airbrush and we just slowly watch it change. Very slight. Now as we go in with the darker colors, it's going to be blending that all out and in the direction it needs to go. Okay, so now I'm going to work a little bit more on the chin. So we'll do his lower lip first because that's still in in screen view. Now his lower lip is shadowed by the upper lip here. So what we need to do is make sure we get that shadow line in there. And now we're drawing the detail of the lip, which is a series of just kind of arced lines. Alright. I'm going to work on the lower part of the chin now. Now what I'm going to do is look to see where his split on his chin is. It's lined up with the center of his lower lip. Just come straight down into here. So the line would be right in this area here. We'll lightly draw that in. Now all this has to get shadowed in here. See, this is what's nice about using pre-mixed colors. I ran out of gray and I'm able to go right back to the same bottle. And I don't have to try to mix up the same exact color. And if I do other portraits and stuff like that, I'll already have that gray. Alright, now we'll work a little bit on his cheekbone and bring that structure in. With doing that, we're going to come into his hair area and then just fog out of that hair area. Now if you notice, there's a real bright highlight right here on his cheekbone. So we can kind of accent that by coming into his eye a little bit and then coming into his hairline here. Now if you look straight down from the furthest out hairline is where that shadow is. So we can bring that in. And then this is all shadowed away pretty darkly. We can shadow that in. Once again, it's paying attention to his reference photo. Now his ear has a real dark line around it. Coming off his ear, he has a little bit of a shadow under his jawline. And then a shadow coming up, and then he has a little bit of a neck muscle there, and you can see that in the highlights. Okay, we need to darken up this cheek area here. Now on his face, this is probably the darkest color we'll go on the shadowing over here. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually come in with white next and kind of bring it all back out a little bit. So if there's inner areas we don't like, seem a little dark or a little something, this is where we can fix it. Okay, now in the ear, we have a little bit of detail in there. Always make sure you add the detail to even the ears and stuff like that, because that's where you'll notice on a lot of photographs something will just kind of be missing on the detail. Push the ear back a little bit by just shooting light gray over the whole thing. Okay, now I'm going to scroll up to the forehead. We'll get a little bit of detail going in there. So now his eyebrow line, if you look at his eyebrow line, it'll kind of arc all the way down into this eyelid area. Just the shadowing of it. So we're just going to add a little bit of a shadow in there. Kind of bring that up. That'll kind of give him his definition of his eyebrow line. Now up here I'm going to draw this line coming down, this forehead line, toward the background. Now remember, we shot our own white on this background. So now that means we're allowed to go in there and add more white to clean up the line if we want. Now this line kind of comes all the way up and down, all the way up. Kind of walks right off the line there. Now his forehead, we bring in the shadowing. The brightest area of it is right in this area here. So that means we can sit there and shadow out his forehead line. So what you don't get here that you would get on YouTube is a little bit of the speed painting here. In certain areas we'd speed it all up and make it to where it doesn't take so long to do all this type of fill-in work. Make sure the shadows are about even colors, about the consistency you want. Now what we're going to do, I'm just going to fade a little bit of this gray all over everything to even it out. And then I'm going to clean out my spray gun. And then I'm going to fog white over most of it. So basically I'm going to be taking a step back now. If you see any areas that need a little more shadowing, go ahead and do that. Now clean out the airbrush and throw some white in there. Now my white's not 100% white, it's reduced way down. So that way I don't hide a lot of detail. But what I can do now is go in there and look at where the detail of the white spots are and just kind of add those in. If you see a line that doesn't look like it's in the right area, just kind of softly fade it out. I see that there's a little white highlight here on his lip, so I'll add that in. do some of the detail here. It's kind of like what you do with the erasing. But I just do it with an airbrush. Want to add texture into his lip, just kind of do little dots and cross patterns. Get some of the light texture in this light tone. So what I'm doing now is just kind of using this as an eraser, just going in there and kind of taking away areas that I don't want it to be too dark. Kind of looking at some of the details and kind of adding some of the highlight details in. And overall just brightening up the image. Kind of helping that fade that we did earlier. Now what I'll do is I'll take this and slightly fog over that prominent line that was there and kind of lighten it up just a little bit. Doesn't need to be so stand out on that lip. See how it kind of softened it up a little bit? You can see me just soften it up a little bit. Makes it to where you know you don't have to worry about the white shift now because we already added whites to it. And what I'm doing now is just acting like an eraser. Just kind of putting a little bit of the hot spots in. Softening up whatever needs to be softened. just come in and soften up the whole entire image if you want. Making the hot spots where they need to be. Now if you go too far on this, don't worry about it, because we can come back in with that gray that we did originally and hit it again.